Welcome to WatchMinded, the channel where we don't just look at watches, we build them. Over the last year, the price of the Seiko NH35 has nearly doubled, and the background music playing right now was tagged as crime. I didn't choose it by accident, because this price hike feels like a real crime. But recently, I found a Chinese version of the NH35 that costs almost half as much and could potentially replace the genuine Japanese movement. The reviews on AliExpress were extremely mixed, from highly positive to very negative. So I decided to test it myself, compare it directly with the genuine NH35, and answer one simple question. Is the Chinese NH35 actually good? Let's find out together. Links to both movements are in the description below. Let's start with the visual comparison. The first thing I noticed was the packaging of the Chinese NH35. Honestly, it feels like the box belongs to a completely different movement. It doesn't close properly, and the movement doesn't fit securely inside. On the other hand, the genuine Japanese movement is packaged much better. The box closes properly, opens smoothly, and protects the movement very well. Now let's look at the movements themselves. Functionally, both movements are built around the same design, but visually, the Japanese NH35 definitely gives a more premium impression. The Chinese movement looks simpler overall and has a rougher, more matte texture. The Japanese NH35 looks more refined, with cleaner brushing and better attention to detail. One important everyday detail is the date wheel, and honestly, the fonts and print quality look good on both movements. But overall, the Japanese NH35 has cleaner finishing, and the assembly feels more consistent. The real question is whether those visual differences translate into actual performance and long-term reliability. Now let's flip both movements over and look at the rotor side. And here, the differences are noticeable as well. Starting with the rotor itself. The Japanese NH35 has proper engravings. That's already one of the easiest ways to visually distinguish them. The finishing on the Japanese rotor also looks cleaner and more refined. The Chinese rotor looks rougher and more matte. And when you compare the screws closely, the Japanese movement once again has sharper slots and cleaner edges. Overall, the Japanese NH35 simply gives a stronger impression of quality control and consistency. The Chinese movement doesn't necessarily look bad, but side by side, you can clearly see where costs were reduced. Simpler finishing, less refinement, and fewer cosmetic details. Now the important part is finding out whether these visual differences also translate into actual performance. So next, let's test them. And now I'm going to run a few tests. But before that, to make those tests possible, I need both movements fully assembled with dials and hands. I already have a ready-built watch with the genuine Japanese NH35. It's my grand Seiko homage. So now I need to assemble the Chinese NH35 as well. The assembly process is very similar to the original NH35, but I did notice a few differences. One of them was the difference when installing the dial. On the genuine Japanese NH35, the dial feet fit tightly through both the spacer ring and into the movement itself, creating a very secure fit. On the Chinese movement, the dial feet only grip the movement plate directly, and the fit feels noticeably looser. As a result, the dial can slide out more easily during assembly. In everyday use, this doesn't really matter once the watch is fully assembled, but during the build process, it definitely feels less refined. Another one was the movement holder ring. On the Chinese NH35, the plastic holder doesn't fit the movement very tightly. So when I was applying a bit of pressure, the movement occasionally slipped out of the holder ring. I actually had to place the movement directly on the table instead of using the holder. It wasn't a huge problem, but it definitely made the assembly process less comfortable. And honestly, this is something I've never experienced with genuine Japanese NH35 movements. On the original NH35, the holder usually grips the movement securely, and everything feels more solid and precise during assembly. This might sound like a small detail, but when you're working with tiny hands and delicate parts, even small differences in fitment and tolerances become very noticeable. Another thing I noticed was the stem release mechanism. The first time, I had to press surprisingly hard to remove the stem. After that, it became much easier. And then there's the stem insertion itself. Sometimes the stem didn't click into place on the first try, and I had to try several times before it engaged properly. Overall, when it comes to assembly, the differences mostly appear in small details. Honestly, nothing dramatic. But I'm really curious what you think about this. Do details like these matter to you? One more important nuance. These two movements use different stems, and they're not interchangeable. So if you plan to swap parts between them, keep that in mind. And I noticed another thing. The Chinese NH35 rotor produces a kind of ratcheting noise I've never heard on a genuine NH35. Unfortunately, I don't have the proper microphone to record it clearly, so you'll just have to trust me on this one. It's noticeably louder than the genuine NH35. And I'll start with the hand-winding power reserve test. My goal here is simple. I want to see whether there's an actual difference in power reserve between these two movements. According to the specifications, the genuine Japanese NH35 should deliver around 41 hours of power reserve, and I'm really curious to see whether it actually performs as advertised. Since neither of these watches has a power reserve indicator, and there's no perfect way to know whether the movement is fully wound, I'll trust the commonly accepted recommendation online. Around 40 full crown rotations should fully wind an NH35. So first, I set both watches to the same reference point, date set to 1, and time set to midnight. Now it's time to wind them. To keep the rotations consistent, I'm using pliers for better control. I do 80 half rotations on each movement, which equals 40 full crown rotations. That should be enough to fully wind both of them. And honestly, by the end of this test, my arm almost fell off. Now all that's left is to wait. Once the watches stop, I'll compare the date and time displayed on each one, calculate the total runtime, and see whether there's a meaningful difference in power reserve. Two days have passed, and one of the movements has already stopped. I'm not going to reveal which one just yet. Let's wait for the second movement to stop as well, so we can see whether the difference is actually significant. Alright, it's late at night now, and the second movement has finally stopped too, so let's check the results. At first glance, the Chinese movement appears to have run longer. The date window shows 3 on the Chinese movement versus 2 on the Japanese NH35. The Chinese watch stopped at 3:42, and the Japanese one stopped at 9:02. Now I need to determine whether those times are AM or PM. To do that, I rotate the hands past the 12-hour mark. If the date changes, the watch had stopped in PM. If the date stays the same, it was AM. And here's what we found. The Japanese movement stopped about 3 hours before reaching a full 2 days of runtime. That gives us approximately 45 hours of power reserve, which is actually 4 hours more than Seiko officially claims. Honestly, that's already very impressive. But surprisingly, the Chinese movement kept running even longer. It achieved a total power reserve of 51 hours and 42 minutes. and that's much higher than I expected. Now we're going to test how efficiently the rotor winds the movement. And for this test, I need to fully case both movements. In other words, finish assembling the watches so I can wear and handle them like normal watches. This test is actually very important in real life. During the day, as we move our wrist, the rotor spins and winds the movement automatically. Then, in the evening, we take the watch off and leave it on a shelf. And ideally, the next morning, the watch should still be running, without needing to be rewound or reset. So first, I wait until both watches stop completely again. Then I set both watches to the same starting point, date set to 1, and time set to midnight. To simulate wrist movement, I'll place each watch into a watch winder for exactly 10 hours. After that, I'll leave them on the desk and wait until they stop naturally. Then, we'll compare how much power reserve each movement gained purely from rotor winding. Right now, it's 9:43, so I set an alarm for 19:43. The watch winder is configured like this: 2 minutes of rotation, then 6 minutes of rest, then 2 minutes rotating in the opposite direction. It's already sunset, and I'm getting ready to take the watch out. The alarm goes off. Time's up. I place the watch aside and let it run until it stops naturally. And tomorrow morning, I'll repeat the exact same process with the Chinese movement for another 10 hours. Again, I set the time to midnight and the date to 1. Then I place the watch into the watch winder for another 10-hour session. And yes, I'm setting another alarm so I don't forget about it. I'll leave them on the desk and wait until they stop naturally. Both watches have finally stopped. And here we can already see something very interesting. The Japanese movement clearly ran longer. We can tell even by looking at the date. The Japanese NH35 stopped at 7:13 with the date showing 3. The Chinese NH35 stopped at 10:44 with the date showing 2. Now I'll rotate the hands on the Japanese movement to confirm whether it was AM or PM. Yes, the date doesn't change, which means it stopped at 7:13 AM. Now let's check the Chinese movement. We can already see the date wheel starting to change when the movement stopped, which is a good clue. But let's confirm it anyway. Yes, that one stopped at 10:44 PM. So in total, the Japanese NH35 ran for 55 hours and 13 minutes, and the Chinese NH35 ran for 46 hours and 44 minutes. That's a surprisingly big difference. But now I want to repeat the same test with a much shorter winding period. This time, each watch will spend only 3 hours inside the watch winder. Both watches have stopped again. Let's rotate the hands and determine whether the displayed times are AM or PM. The Japanese movement shows 4:25. The date changes when I pass midnight, which means the watch had stopped at 4:25 PM. Now the Chinese movement. It shows 9:24. I rotate the hands past midnight, and the date does not change, so that means it stopped at 9:24 a.m. After just 3 hours in the watch window, the Japanese NH35 continued running for 16 hours and 25 minutes. The Chinese NH35 ran for 9 hours and 24 minutes. So this second test confirms the first one. Even though the Chinese movement showed a longer maximum hand wound power reserve, the Japanese NH35 wins much more efficiently through the rotor system and stores significantly more energy during normal automatic winding. And now, let's test how accurate these movements actually are. I'll set both watches to exactly midnight and start them simultaneously. On my phone, I'll also start a 24-hour timer. So after exactly 24 hours, we'll compare both watches to the real time and see whether the movements are running too fast or too slow. And start. The next morning, right after waking up, the first thing I do is check the watches, and already, I can see around a 15-second difference between them. Honestly, for automatic movements, that doesn't feel bad at all, but at this point, we still don't know which one is actually more accurate compared to real time. For all we know, both could already be several minutes off. So now we wait until the full 24 hours are over and check the final result. Less than a minute remains, and I'm getting ready to record the results. At this moment, my camera struggled a bit to focus clearly on the second hands. But let's rewind the footage to about 3 seconds before the timer finished. The Japanese movement shows approximately 2 seconds past midnight, and the Chinese movement shows around 12 seconds before midnight. So while this test isn't laboratory grade, it still gives us a pretty good real-world result. The Japanese NH35 gained about 5 seconds per day, and the Chinese movement lost around 9 seconds per day. Honestly, both results are very good for automatic movements in this price range. Before we go to the summary, just keep in mind, this is only one sample of each movement. Another Chinese NH35 might perform worse or much better. Links to both movements you can find in the description below. The genuine Japanese NH35 definitely feels like the more refined movement. Overall, it simply feels more consistent and more mature as a product. But the Chinese NH35 surprised me, and I wouldn't call it bad. Yes, it feels less refined in many small details, but it delivered very good accuracy, excellent hand wound power reserve, and overall performance that was much better than I expected for the price. The real question is whether the genuine Japanese NH35 is worth paying almost twice as much. And I think the answer depends on what kind of watch you're building. If you want maximum consistency, refinement, and reliability, I would still choose the genuine Japanese NH35. But if you're building a budget project, experimenting, or just trying to save money, the Chinese NH35 actually looks like a pretty reasonable option. Would you use the Chinese NH35 in your own build? Or would you still prefer paying more for the genuine Japanese movement? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching Watch Minded. Hit the like button and subscribe for more builds. I'll see you in the next one.